Welcome to Show Studios Fashion Radio, the podcast video series exploring the remarkable relationship between fashion and music. Every week we'll be joined by fashion's biggest names and the talent of tomorrow as they share their 10 life-defining tunes and the stories behind them. I'm your host, DJ Fat Tony, and while the title Style Icon is one of fashion's most overused, there really is no better way to describe today's guest. While her enigmatic style and incomparable couture collection have captivated fashion, it's music that's her real driving force, enlightening none other than the legendary music producer Tony Visconti for her first 3 albums, and the fourth on the way. She's worked with legendary image makers like David La Chapelle and of course Nick Knight to create music videos that are out of this world. She's the one and only Daphne Guinness. Okay, hi, DJ Fat Tony here, and welcome to Fashion Radio. And today we're joined by the incredible, and I'm going to use the word incredible, not use that word on here yet for any of our guests, but it's Daphne Guinness. Hi.
Hello.
There's a lot of people that you meet in life that have a look about them or a certain, they different styles and stuff. But you have the look of Daphne Guinness. You have this look that no one else has. It's so identifiable because as soon as you see it, it's like, it's Daphne Guinness. Do you know what I mean? It's like there's no double taking because you had this look from head to toe that is impeccable and it's always turned out. Do you ever go to the shop for a pint of milk not looking like Daphne Guinness?
No. No, it's funny. Funnily enough, I was... a friend of mine, Jinx Monsoon, who
amazing. I love Jinx.
She was saying that there was a myth going around New York City that I get spotted at sort of 7-Elevens, sort of looking like me, and I said, well, that's very true. That's just how I am, and I wasn't really, I'm associated with the fashion world, but I was never kind of in the fashion world.
You
I was
didn't
always
study
on the
fashion,
outside.
did you?
No, I didn't. What I did was it was really via when I got divorced, and then I sort of, after 14 years of seeing nobody, when I got back to London, my Isabella Blow.
Yeah, of course, Izzy. Yeah.
So Izzy, and Izzy sort of, at that point, sort of kept on saying, "Oh, you can do this. You can take over from this, and do this." And so I sort of ended up kind of working with her, and then obviously Lee. Yeah,
in a way, you are kind of this mythical creature. In a lot of ways, you are. And seriously, when I said to my boyfriend this morning, I'm doing Daphne Guinness this morning, he was like, "Oh my God, I love her." And he's 27, and I'm like, well, how do you know Daphne Guinness? And you go, I'm saying to you, and they do, because you are this mythical creature. And when I've been in places and you've walked in, and there's been an awful lot of ego and an awful lot of personality in a room, and you walk in and you command it. Oh, it's like, oh my God, there's Daphne. Do you get what I'm saying to you? You trot in, like, on your shoes, like this, like, a minotaur, walking in, and it's this like mythical creature. It's just amazing to have that. Goodness.
And the shoes are sort of something that happens so by mistake as well. Like all the best things that have happened to me are all mistakes. Yeah. And then I take the mistake as far as I can get.
Of course. And that's taking creativity to it, to the limit, and it's great. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, it is. It is great. It is great.
Your first track from your childhood, we're going to go back there now, right? Which influenced you in your personal style and taste, is a good one for me. I love this one. So tell us what it is.
It's "Satellite of Love" by Lou Reed, and I spent so long looking at the cover. The Transformer cover with his sort of heavy kind of curled eyes. Yeah. And I remember knowing the whole album word perfect from back to front, and I listened to it so much. I mean, obviously, it was difficult to say. It was difficult to choose one.
It's amazing. So they're opening the Chelsea Hotel again in New York.
Yes, I heard.
I was like, I wanted to stay there because they're turning it actually into a proper hotel, and it was like I really wanted to stay there. It wasn't open when I was there the other week. I was like gutted.
Oh my goodness!
Just like that whole era and that whole.
Suzanne still lives there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's incredible in itself as well.
I know.
That's another one. I'd love to get Suzanne on here, actually. I'm going to ask her to come on this.
I love Suzanne.
Suzanne Bach, she's just, it's another one. another mythical creature that has helped to change the world and paths of fashion.
And still does it.
But also, what's so genius about people like yourself and Suzanne Bartsch, and there's so many others that aren't scared of what's up and coming. You promote what's up and coming. You push young designers, you push young artists. You see talent in them and you allow them to be talented and show their talent. Whereas a lot of people within fashion and within music don't do that.
I think that you're absolutely right. I mean, I've taken this view for a really long time. That's why I do everything I do with Central St. Martin's, and now I'll be doing it with the music side as well, because it's difficult when you've got corporations who essentially they're just number crunchers.
Yeah, of course.
They're only looking at their bottom lines. They don't have an imagination, and they especially with music, they only really they only promote about 5 artists a year.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, it's really bad. They used to have about 100 at least on a major label. Now they just don't bother.
And, it's like radio stations, won't play certain music over a certain age. If God forbid you're over 40, you won't even get on the radio one playlist. Yeah. And that kind of thinking needs to change. That kind of like outlook is just so dated, and it's just such a thing of the past. Do you know what I mean? It really is.
It is.
Let's go on to track 2, right? Track from a film that's important to you.
Saraband by Handel in D minor.
Wow.
Which is from Barry Lyndon, which is one of my favorite films. But Kubrick in general, all of the music in his films.
Incredible.
I have a kind of, maybe other people do too, but I'm always, when I'm writing a song, it normally, in fact, 100% of the time, it always starts off in a minor key. I'm sort of wired towards minor keys, funeral marches. But this one I love in particular. There's just something so haunting about it. And actually, funnily enough, Lee loved this one as well.
Yeah,
he really did. And it's the film and is one of my favorite films in the whole world.
But when you said here, most track for a film, I mean, let's talk about your videos. They are like films.
They are like films.
The Chapelle stuff, like, it's mind-blowing. The amount of people that used to send me it, literally send me clips of this, going, how mental is this? And I'd be like, it's so mad. It's so mad and it's so genius. Because it was like the insanity of David La Chapelle and the insanity of Daphne Guinness combined. And it was like this explosion. Yeah. They were explosions.
Oh,
it was like, you watch it and you're just like, what the hell is going on? And that's amazing. Look, my head stood on end when I was talking about it.
And oh my God, the first video was something else. I mean, it was a 3-day shoot, but we did it. It was 24 hour on 24 hour on 24 hour. And I mean, even that, we didn't get through all the sort of looks that we were supposed to be doing. When I fell in that video, I almost had my head cut off, because that was that bubble that was never supposed to happen.
The space helmet.
But the mistakes, I take it even further. I said, well, this actually makes sense of the whole thing, because he's saving me anyway. But he's like my brother.
So let's take us to question 3. What do you listen to day to day? What are you listening to right now?
Listening to, I obviously always Dylan. I mean, I put Desolation Row in there because it's such a great song in so many things. But what I do listen to mostly day to day is classical, but also Dylan.
Do you have classical in the background at your house all day long? Is it on there?
No,
or you have moments.
The one thing about actually really now, working every single day in music for the last, I'd say now it's almost a dozen years, is that it's slightly kind of ruined me having music on all the time. Because I sort of, it's what I do. And I sort of think,
I agree with you on that.
Sometimes I sort of wish I kind of knew less about it in a way. But I do listen to it, but I'll listen to it when I'm working out and stuff, but I can't, when I'm actually, and I'm always working now, so I don't like to be kind of thrown off by listening to sort of things with too many words on it.
Because it distracts you, right?
It does.
I
So you're the same.
I'm exactly the same. I cannot have music on in cars.
No,
if I've been working
or in restaurants,
I go into again kind of go, do you want music? I'm like, no, turn it off. I don't want music on in my house. It's what I do for a living.
Yes.
It's what I'm consumed with.
I know.
So when I go home, I need to calm down.
Like
Coronation Street,
yes,
and on in the background is like meditation to me.
Yes.
I zone out.
Yeah,
I'm not watching. I couldn't tell you what's going on in it, but I will watch it because I zone out in it.
Yeah.
You kind of already answered this. What do you listen to whilst working?
Well, I mean, I only put this on because I obviously don't listen to my previous album. I just wrote it down because it's in order to say I listen to the things that I'm working on.
Yeah,
but
right.
I mean, obviously, this is a song off my last album. But at the moment, I'm sort of deep in the mixes for the album that I'm doing at the moment.
And how long will it take you to do an album? How long have you been working on this album?
Well, this one's been going on for about over a year, actually. Mm-hmm. But it's gone through many kind of different incarnations, and it's now getting into the place where
how exciting!
It is really exciting.
That's the magic.
The thing is, but what it's like now is having a enormous canvas with so much on it, and it's rubbing things out,
erasing.
It's erasing a lot of it actually. So I mean, it's going to be very different from. It's where I was heading during the last album, and it's going into much more sort of futuristic kind of dance, disco kind of.
You love a bit of disco.
Electric.
You love a bit of disco. And you know, every time I've listened to your tracks, that's always got that disco element to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've kind of, I've been through the classical. I've digested glam rock. I've digested the 60s. I know all of these things. So now it's all coming out in a sort of different way.
Do you find when you write an album or you work on an album, it's quite life affirming in the sense that it shows where you're at right now? Because that whole, what you just explained, that stripping back experience, it's like when we try to find out who we are and we start to strip things back and we get rid of the things that we think make us funny or the things that make us sad, and we take it away and we're kind of left with like, okay, this is all right with who I am. This is really good where I'm at. It's true.
I mean, I sometimes have to kind of, I'm doing a bit of a rewrite on some of the songs because I've, sometimes they become very, very long, descriptive, kind of very cinematic kind of things. And sometimes you just don't need all of that. And also it's more, it's to show up yourself in a song and to really actually own it. That's sort of what I'm doing now, because it's all very well sort of giving a description of what's going on. It can become too much of a sort of academic exercise. And yes, poetry is poetry, but you have to. My albums are sort of like a kind of there are sort of lots of hidden meanings in there, and a lot of it all happened, and actually a lot of it's very predictive, which is so strange.
That's the magic of songwriting and the magic of songs, because if I was to listen to a certain song, I would think it's about where I'm at in life.
Yes.
That's about me. This song was written for me. Yeah, it's definitely written for me, that song. And we don't even know the words.
Yeah.
To half of these songs. So we make up our own words. And that's the magic of it all.
It is the magic.
Then it's about personalizing it.
I think the thing, but there is a bit of that, but what I do feel is that nothing that I do is ever going to be finished unless when I'm still alive, because it all could be changed. I mean, seriously, I could
just keep going back to it and changing.
Well, you could. I mean, in theory, a work of art is as alive as its 100%. Artist.
And also, it's like going to a good restaurant. They're forever evolving their food, and that's why you keep going back.
That's true.
And it's the same with music. An artist. Once you're dead, that's done.
Yeah, then that's
it. That's there. No one can change it. Don't bother remixing it, please. No one. No. Leave it as it is, because that's what it's meant to be.
Yeah.
So next question was, what do you listen to when you're creating? And I just think, that whole, your love of classical is such a strong thread throughout this. So what is it?
Well, I mean, the thing I go back to again and again is the Ninth Symphony, and especially the fourth movement, which is I think it's a sort of Turkish march actually that then goes into the Ode to Joy, and for me, I mean that is the call to brotherhood and wisdom and the idea of peace and brotherhood of man. That is just the most beautiful piece of writing, and also the most beautiful piece of I mean, I think it's sort of pinnacle of sort of Western civilization in music. And to think that he wrote that when he was deaf, I mean, seriously.
But your description of it's so amazing. Like, just the way you just described it just was like, it's like, oh my God, I have to listen to it.
It is. It's so moving, the whole thing, and perfect. And where are we now? Where are we now? Still with war and you know.
Worse than ever.
Worse than ever.
Really worse than ever. And on so many levels.
On so many levels. And I do think that actually music could be it is a place where people can come together. It is a place where I had a lyric in one of my last albums, you know, music has no gender. I mean, it's one place where everybody can be one as human beings.
100%, I agree. And, you know, the mere fact of like, just like, Ukraine even winning the Eurovision says it all, because the world wanted to get behind it, and it brought a better way to get behind it, the music.
They've got some amazing singers.
Do you know what I'm saying to you? It's such a powerful... I think the thing about it is a lot of people seem to forget about how powerful music can be. And especially when it comes to fashion. You know, I really think that the best shows have the best music. And the music, you know,
absolutely.
You sit in a show and you're like... Wow, this is taking me on a journey, and that's in every. So I'm seeing it with my eyes, but I'm also hearing it with my ears, but feeling it with my soul. That's sold a collection, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, getting back to the Ukraine thing, was very, very, very strange, but it happens to me quite a lot. This is that, you know, we recorded a whole band session actually a year ago. And I had some tracks with no words on it, and I had the mixes with me, and I was swimming sort of New Year, and I got out of the water, and I said to Malcolm, I said, I know exactly what this is. It's a Russian love song. So I go off and I write this whole sort of song called Laika.
What's best song represents the sound of your studio? Well, and I love this answer.
Because by the Beatles, because my studio is in Abbey Road. So I'm so happy to be there. I'll be there forever and ever.
You've gone from show studio to Abbey Road.
I know.
I mean, how insane is that, right?
That? Yeah.
That's amazing.
It is amazing. But I recorded the strings, because I've got 34 strings on this new batch of songs. As I said, I mean, there are within each track, there are 250 tracks. It's a monster to mix.
That's insane.
It is. I mean, you know, but anyway, rubbing out. But the Beatles, I mean, can you imagine being in Abbey Road? We've got beautiful studio.
I sat next to Malcolm at dinner, and I said, well, he was explaining something, and then he said that you were I said, you still at show studio? He was like, no, we're at Abbey Road. And I was like, what the hell?
You must come and visit. We have a lovely first floor, beautiful studio.
Because that's where fashion radio was first created. Do you remember back in about a good 12 years ago now, maybe not, 13 or 14, Nick did fashion radio from Abbey Road studio for free 2 days, and he got everyone to come in and record their own shows.
That's so cool.
And that's where the idea came from.
Fantastic.
I did a round table me and Sam McKnight did a round table, and we had Boy George, the Pet Shop Boys, and various other people. But like, it was like these hour slots for different people, and it was such a genius thing from Abbey Road.
Was it in the top floor?
No, it was in the whole studio, the main
whole
studio. Yeah.
Wow.
And it literally was a mammoth task, and I just was like blown away by it, because I just got clean. It was the first year I'd been sober, and I found myself in Abbey Road Studios, and I was just like, it was a dream come true.
It is a dream come true. I mean, I let
alone going there daily for work.
Yeah, exactly. I've got a lovely land. I can go in there whenever I want.
That's amazing.
All day, every day.
That's a blessing.
So that's what's brought that was the deciding factor in me moving back to London.
Okay, this is probably my favourite question on here, especially for you, because of like everything involved with it. Is what's the most important song you've heard on a catwalk show?
I just remember being at one of Alexander's shows and Spellbound coming on, and I remember
mind blowing. I was there.
He was going through. I think there was a model going through the sort of tube with the. It was snow, wind, and kind of. It was sort of massive.
It's been copied
wind.
Quite a few times now.
It has, hasn't it? Badly.
Really badly.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
seriously, everybody copies him, and they never get it right.
But those shows were just, the Queen shows were just
unbelievable.
Everything about it, from what they were walking on, because the catwalk was never a catwalk. It was like either water, it was squidding. Squid ink. Come on, amazing. Injecting squid ink, and then robot arms, and just just went on. And the music, from the minute you walked in, you were engrossed in it, because the music was already playing. It was always on in the background, and it just led into it.
Oh my God.
They were masterpieces.
God, I wish there was someone else. There's just no one else.
For me, there's the two. There's the Galliano, straight away you knew, and there's Lee, and they are just they're irreplaceable.
And thank God John's still with
Thank God John's still with us, and what he's turning out for Margiela right now is just
fantastic.
Insane.
I know.
Literally. And, we were talking about it yesterday because, with Nick, when I interviewed Nick Knight for this, and we were talking about John G then, and about the magic of Stephen, who's no longer with us, who was his, who worked with John, and how John always surrounds himself and finds the right people. And it's the same with Lee, everyone. And it's the same with Kim Jones as well. They all have this team that they've eclectic over the years, because they're all little masters of what they do.
They are.
And that's what makes a house, a fashion house.
It's true, absolutely. And it's got soul, and it's got, real human souls.
And Lee definitely had that. And that connection with Izzy, and, another one that pushed that talent.
Yeah.
Made that talent thrive.
Yep. Exactly.
Let's move on to best music video in terms of fashion. And I love this answer.
I love Steve. Oh my God.
Tell me what it is.
Oh, him?
No, the song.
Oh, Fade to Grey.
Yeah.
Fade to Grey.
A masterpiece.
One
man on a lonely platform, suitcase sitting by his side. Genius. Yeah. Like the soundtrack to my youth. We Fade to Grey.
Yeah. And I loved him so much as a person.
It was just, listen, I wrote about Steve in my book because there was so many facets to Steve Strange. There was the Artful Dodger. There was the Fagin. There was the style icon. There was so many levels to him, and it was just every part of it, whatever he did, it would make me laugh. Because he would come to my house, and my dad loved him. My dad loved him because he used to come to my dad and say, "Oh, I've got this. Do you want to buy it?" And my dad would buy this stuff off Steve.
He came to Ireland just before he died. He spent a long time, and we were doing songs together. Yeah. It was very, very funny. They loved him there.
He's genius.
Oh, he was genius.
Bless his heart.
Bless his heart. And we did a mini shoot here with Nick. It was because I refound him after sort of years and years of not seeing him, and
that's
then we
addiction
kind of
for you. We lose people because they lose themselves within addiction, and you get that moment of I thought you were dead moments.
Oh God.
And Steve was one of those people that you kind of just wished he'd get himself together, because he was so creative.
He was so creative, and it was so funny writing a song with him. It was really, really funny. I've never laughed so much in my life.
So much fun.
I've got some of the recordings that were absolutely hilarious.
So much fun. Fade to Grey and that whole Steve Strange era was just such a major turning point for British fashion.
Yeah, it was. I wish I'd been able to go to the nightclub that because I was just a bit too young. Yeah,
I missed that as well by 3 or 4 years.
Yeah,
I kind of come along just on the end of that, which I'm quite grateful for, really. Do you know what I mean? But I kind of saw the best side of Steve and also the worst. But fashion-wise and music, that's where they really did join. Because that new romantic theory and era was a real gelling of fashion and music.
It was.
That whole electronic phase of Depeche Mode, all of those amazing people. Incredible. Kraftwerk. Come on.
Kraftwerk.
Okay, a song from a musician you wish to work with now, living or dead?
Giorgio Moroder.
Another great.
Brilliant. Yeah. I feel love. I've said by Giorgio Moroder, but he has such a distinctive sound, and he's,
and it's sampled so much now. Like, honestly, I could tell you, there's so many artists at the moment. Like there's one called Purple Disco Machine, which is incredible for what they do. But it's got that Moroder sound. It's always the same loop. That whole, I feel like it's got that punchiness to it that you automatically know what it is straight away. And that can't be replicated, but it can be challenged in another way. Yeah. But to try and replicate it would be wrong. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But there's so many people that have sampled Moroder, but wouldn't give him credit for it.
No,
he's another incredible genius, and I'm really glad you brought him into this.
He's amazing. He really, really is amazing. I mean, I'm fiddling around a lot with sort of arps and all sorts of kind of different new sounds, and getting sounds out of things that you wouldn't even believe possible. But trying to sort of push the envelope as far as sonic.
But you're Daphne Guinness, that's what you do.
Exactly. I'm going to have one hell of a. I've already got a hell of a library. It's going to be. I
can't wait for this album. I'm serious. I really cannot wait. I'd love to come to Abbey Road at some point. I'm going to come to Abbey Road. Don't have to ask me twice. I will be there. Trust me. With buns.
Yeah, with buns. Exactly.
Right, 10. Last question, which is always a really good one. The track that represents how you feel about life right now.
This Town Ain't Big Enough for the Both of Us. I love this song so much. I love the original version. I love the Tony version with the strings. It's a great song. I remember when I first heard it, it took you somewhere else, but it's a great track. And I love the Sparks. The Sparks are just
amazing.
Genius.
Sparks are just so beyond. On so many, another group that was so ahead of their time in style. Everything about it, because you had the one that looked amazing, and then you had him with his moustache, and that kind of was
I
like
remember on the Top of the Pops when they.
Do you remember?
I do.
And he was like almost Mark Bolan-esque, the other one, and then you had this I
said he reminds me of. I saw some early footage of. I was watching their documentary. He looks a bit like Jim Morrison.
He does look like Jim Morrison, and he's got that sexiness of Jim Morrison. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? That kind of like. People would call it heroin chic, and it's not heroin. There's no such thing as that. But, for me, it was like he had that sexiness.
Yes,
you could smell him.
Yes, exactly.
You know what I mean? He's one of those people you see and you think, I can smell him. Yeah. That sexiness, it oozes it. And Sparks had that magic, and they still do.
They still do.
They really do. And I'm waiting for a revival of Sparks tracks. I'm sure someone's going to dig one out and remix and sample it, because it needs to be done.
They continue to make great albums.
Incredible. A couple of years ago, they released that other album, that new one.
Hippopotamus.
That's right. I love that you know it.
Yeah. I think the one I like very much is the album called Balls.
Oh, no, what's that?
Oh, my God. There's a song on it. So it was released in 2000, and I remember buying it at the time, but I didn't sort of put two and two together. But there's one track on it that's called I'm Not Just a Sex Machine, and that's brilliant. I mean, they're funny, their songs.
That's
got humour.
You hit the nail on the head, smart. Which is what you did with your video. They are funny.
They have to be funny.
They have to, because they're engaging. You know, you can watch Madness and you think, oh, this is insane, I'm turning this off. Yeah. But when you watch something that has that tongue-in-cheek, that feeling, it has a good vibe to it, and you can feel the
people having a good time.
It's got everything, and that's it, and that's what sells you. And I truly believe that this planet isn't big enough for two of you. Right?
Well,
it's true. And you know what?
So
long
much.
may you reign, Daphne.
Thank you.